Imagine this. It's past midnight. A young girl thrashes in bed, her voice no longer her own, deep, growling, and ancient. Chairs crash without warning. Cold air wraps the room like death's breath. And then, silence, broken only by a whisper that didn't come from her lips. These aren't movie scenes. They're real cases that shocked families, stunned doctors, and ignited debate across the globe. So, are we facing ancient evil or unexplained madness? This is where science falters and fear takes over. Dare to enter the shadows where demons or delusions await. What exactly is an exorcism? Before we jump into the chilling cases, let's understand what's at stake. An exorcism is a religious or spiritual ritual performed to expel evil spirits or demons believed to have taken over a person, place, or object. These rituals date back thousands of years and appear in almost every major religion, from Christianity to Islam, Hinduism to ancient Mesopotamian practices. In the Catholic Church, exorcism is not a sacrament like baptism or confession. It's a sacramental, meaning its power comes not just from the ritual, but from the faith of the priest and the authority of the church. But here's where it gets messy. Where one person sees demonic possession, another sees mental illness. What looks like supernatural strength or speaking in unknown tongues may actually be symptoms of schizophrenia, epilepsy, or dissociative identity disorder. The line between science and spirit is razor thin, and exorcisms live right on that edge. Roland Doe. Let's start with the case that launched 1,000 nightmares. In 1949, a 14-year-old boy from Maryland, known only as Roland Doe, a pseudonym, became the focus of one of the most famous exorcism stories in American history. After experimenting with a Ouija board, Roland's family noticed disturbing changes: scratching sounds from the walls, objects levitating, and his mattress shaking violently. Crosses trembled when he walked by. He spoke in Latin, a language he had never learned. And most terrifying of all, deep scratches spelling words like hell appeared on his body. When doctors failed to explain his symptoms, the family turned to the church. Jesuit priests, including Father William Bowdern, conducted over 30 exorcism sessions. Roland reportedly cursed, growled, and even broke a priest's arm with a snapped bed spring. Eventually, after weeks of grueling rituals, the priest claimed the demon fled. Roland went on to live a quiet life, but skeptics remain unconvinced. Investigators like Mark Obsasnik argued Roland was just a disturbed teen acting out for attention. The Latin he spoke might have come from overhearing church services. Still, the case formed the basis for William Peter Blatty's novel, The Exorcist, and the legendary 1973 film that followed. Real or not, Roland's story forever changed how we see possession. Anneliese Michel. This next story didn't inspire a movie. It inspired a criminal trial. In 1975, Anneliese Michel, a 22-year-old German woman, began showing alarming symptoms: seizures, hallucinations, and violent outbursts. She was diagnosed with epilepsy and depression, but her devout Catholic family believed something darker was at play. She refused to eat. She growled, she bit herself. She screamed for hours. She claimed she was possessed by 6 demons, including Lucifer, Judas, and even Adolf Hitler. 2 priests received church approval to perform exorcisms. Over 67 sessions, Anneliese endured unimaginable torment. She begged to die, believing it would save others from her curse. On July 1, 1976, Anneliese died from malnutrition and dehydration, weighing just 68 pounds. Her parents and the 2 priests were later convicted of negligent homicide. The case shook Europe. Some believed her death proved that demons are real and that science failed her. Others saw it as a horrifying example of religious abuse, where mental illness was mistaken for possession. The case inspired the 2005 film The Exorcism of Emily Rose. But in real life, there was no happy ending. George Lukins. Let's rewind to 1788. In the village of Yatton, England, a tailor named George Lukins claimed he was possessed by 7 demons. His voice changed. He sang backwards in Latin. He experienced seizures so violent, doctors called him incurable. But George said only one thing would save him: an exorcism by 7 clergymen. On Friday the 13th, 7 Methodist priests gathered in a church to confront the supposed evil. During the exorcism, Lukins convulsed, roared in different voices, and claimed to be the devil himself. After hours of chanting and prayer, Lukins suddenly fell silent. He thanked the priests and walked out, seemingly healed. Was it a miracle, or did he believe in the ritual so deeply that it worked psychologically? Today, many think Lukins had epilepsy or a conversion disorder. But in the 18th century, people saw it as spiritual warfare. This case remains one of the earliest recorded exorcisms in British history. The Ammons family haunting. What if a possession case had police officers, doctors, and even state officials backing it? That's exactly what happened in Gary, Indiana, in 2011. LaToya Ammons and her 3 children claimed their house was haunted by dark forces. They saw shadow figures. The children levitated, growled, and spoke in deep voices. One boy even allegedly walked backward up a hospital wall, a moment witnessed by a nurse and a social worker. When medical tests came back normal, a Catholic priest performed multiple exorcisms. The family eventually moved, and the activity stopped. Shockingly, police officers signed sworn affidavits describing the strange events. Even skeptics were left scratching their heads. Some believed the family exaggerated events due to stress or sought media attention. But with so many professional witnesses, the Ammons haunting remains one of the most debated cases of modern possession. Julia. Dr. Richard Gallagher isn't your average ghost believer. He's a Harvard-trained psychiatrist and professor at Columbia University. So when a Catholic priest asked him to evaluate a woman named Julia, a self-proclaimed Satanist claiming to be possessed, he approached it with scientific skepticism. But what he witnessed changed him forever. Julia spoke fluent Latin and ancient Greek, languages she'd never studied. She had superhuman strength, once lifting a man off the floor with ease. Even more disturbing, she revealed personal facts about Gallagher's life, things no one else knew. During their sessions, Gallagher saw her hiss, curse, and speak in deep, demonic voices. He couldn't explain what he was witnessing, even with all his medical training. And then, before the church could finish the exorcism, Julia disappeared. Years later, Gallagher still says, "Possession is real." In a field ruled by logic and data, he remains one of the few doctors willing to say evil might exist when science fights back. Mental illness or demonic influence. Let's be clear, science has strong arguments. What many call demonic possession often has clear medical explanations. Schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, dissociative identity disorder, and temporal lobe epilepsy can all cause terrifying symptoms. Hearing voices, speaking in strange tongues, sudden personality shifts, violent behavior, and intense religious delusions. In fact, the belief that one is possessed can itself trigger disturbing behaviors, especially in deeply religious environments. The mind, under the weight of suggestion and fear, can create a horrifying illusion that feels all too real. But here's where it gets unsettling. Science doesn't have all the answers. There are documented cases that even the most seasoned psychiatrists can't explain. Dr. Richard Gallagher, a respected professor and psychiatrist, has gone on record saying some patients seem to exhibit abilities no mental illness could account for. Could it be that the spiritual and psychological worlds sometimes blur together in ways we don't yet understand? When exorcisms turn deadly, believing in possession isn't always harmless. In fact, it can be deadly. In 2010, a 15-year-old boy named Christy Bamu was tortured and murdered in London by his own relatives. They believed he was a witch. Over days, they beat him with metal bars, knives, and a hammer before finally drowning him in a bathtub. His sister, also accused, was forced to take part. The court later called it one of the most brutal crimes in recent memory. In 2005, deep in rural Romania, a young nun named Sister Maricica Cornici showed signs of mental illness, hallucinations, outbursts, and confusion. But instead of psychiatric care, her convent called for an exorcism. She was tied up, gagged, starved, and left without medical help for days. Eventually, she died, her body nailed to a wooden cross. The priest leading the ritual insisted she was possessed and that he had only tried to save her soul. These aren't isolated incidents, they're warnings. When fear and superstition replace science and compassion, the results can be horrifying. Faith around the world. Think exorcism is only found in dark church basements with chanting priests? Think again. This battle between good and evil crosses continents and centuries. In Islam, powerful verses from the Quran are recited to drive out Jinn, beings made of smokeless fire. Hindu priests summon fierce gods to banish malevolent spirits. Jewish mystics once performed Kabbalistic exorcisms, using secret names of God to break spiritual bondage. Long before organized religion, Ancient Babylonians and Greeks wore protective amulets and chanted incantations to guard against curses. These were not just rituals, they were survival. From the deserts of the Middle East to the jungles of India and the ruins of ancient Greece, the fear of unseen forces has shaped culture, belief, and daily life. No matter the language, no matter the god, one truth endures. When darkness knocks, humanity fights back with faith, fire, and ancient words whispered into the void. Why are we so obsessed with exorcisms? Why do these stories still haunt us? Because they tap into a fear older than time. The terrifying idea that we are not fully in control of ourselves, that an unseen force can enter our homes, our minds, and even our bodies. That evil isn't just a concept, it might be real, watching, waiting. Films like The Exorcist, The Conjuring, and The Rite don't just entertain, they awaken something ancient inside us. They stir our deepest questions. Is there a dark presence lurking in the shadows? Are we merely flesh, or do we carry something eternal? A soul that can be saved or lost? These stories pull us in because they offer more than horror. They promise hope, a priest standing firm, a family refusing to give in, a soul saved at the last second. Whether you believe or not, these tales force us to confront what we fear most and what we most want to believe. In conclusion, the truth is, we may never fully know. For every chilling case like Roland Doe, there's a rational explanation. For every story like Anneliese Michel, there's a tragic loss made worse by misunderstanding. But even today, demand for exorcisms is rising worldwide. The Catholic Church has trained more exorcists in the last 2 decades than in the previous 100 years. And people from all backgrounds are still reporting terrifying experiences that science struggles to explain. Are demons real, or are they shadows created by trauma, culture, and belief? Whatever the answer, one thing is certain. Real-life exorcisms have shaken the world, and they still haunt us today. If you found this topic chilling and thought-provoking, share your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe in possession, or is it all in the mind? And for more deep dives into the strange and unexplained, follow, subscribe, and stay curious, because the truth may be stranger than fiction. Thanks for watching.